We can't do nothing for ourselves because we can't afford it. We can't afford books, we can't afford education, but yet we can afford a big screen TV. You can't afford, training programs for your children, but you can't afford a new pair of Air Jordans, and it seems to me that when you're talking about, when you're talking about all this money that's flowing out, I think that's the perfect time to talk about the misdirection of our whatever economic power we do have, the misdirection of that when it comes to putting money into the hands of other people instead of putting money into your own businesses and into your own community. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit and tell me what goes to your mind when I share that thought?
Yeah, see, right now, black folks right now have an annual disposable income, or makes it, I guess, somewhere around maybe $1 trillion and $1.2 trillion. That makes them about the 9th or 10th richest nation on earth if we would consider ourselves to be a nation. But out of that $1.2 trillion, they spend 98 to 99% of it outside of the community. It never bounces in their own community. It never goes into black business. Only about 2% of our annual disposable income is spent in black businesses. That's why I was going back to 1863, when again, they got that whole thing identifying with freeing the slaves. And what they want to do then, they want to put a religious tone to it. But initially it came into existence based on an economic issue and reuniting the North and the South through patriotism. And then they had to find some way of capitalize on it. And then by 1870, as I said, they started brought back the Pilgrim and attached that to the Thanksgiving celebration symbolism. Then by 1890, they brought back the Indians and attached the Indians to it. And that was after 300 years before Pilgrims and Indians ever got attached to Thanksgiving. The only thing was attached to it then was just black folk. You had 5 million black folk going out into the world. They freed black folk, 5 million black folk with no land, no weapons, no tools, no home, no business, no income, no institution, no education, nothing, and set them free. They're gonna start earning income. They want to recapture that money, period. Now, they can't spend it in the black community, so what happens, everybody had a business guy saying, well, we make that Black Friday and try to recapture that money. Black Friday came as a direct result of going back to 1863 when Lincoln proclaimed we have to have a national holiday based on patriotism, but they want to bring the country together. And if you're gonna pimp somebody for money, you couldn't pimp it in the white community. They went after the black community. They were the biggest consumers at that time that had no damn businesses. You didn't have the Asians, the Arabs, the Hispanics, and other people in the country spending dollars. It was only black folk. That's why it was called Black Friday. They didn't call it Arab Friday, Indian Friday, or Hispanic Friday. It was Black Friday. That's where the blackness came in from. And so, but blacks don't know this because most of them don't read and understand this. So they go out and say, well, I'll spend my money, and they're gonna ship it out of the black community. They impoverish themselves every darn day. So tomorrow on Black Friday, all these blacks gonna line up to drive their money into major stores that are owned by everybody but black folk. It has nothing to do with religion, it had nothing to do with pilgrims, it had nothing to do with Indians. It became the best a year that black folk were emancipated, and President Lincoln declared we have to have a national holiday, and they converted over being an economic issue because they were freeing all those slaves. Somebody had to pick up that money. 5 million blacks running free and making a little money.
Wow. So okay, so it's funny, when you talk about that, and everybody, I'm talking to Dr. Claud Anderson, and we're talking about Thanksgiving spending, Black Friday, and everything else, Black history as well. And just as a reminder to everybody, don't forget, you can go to powernomics.com, and I hope that you'll do some Black Friday investing. I really think that one step we could take as a community is, instead of thinking about the holidays as a time just to spend, I think you want to know the difference between spending and investing. Spending when you give money away and you get something that's of low value back. Like Dr. Anderson calls it the doctrine of unequal exchange, right? You give them $300, they give you a pair of shoes. That pair of shoes lasts you, for a few weeks. Instead, I encourage you to still go out and use your money. Just use it for some things that are going to benefit you. Maybe buy some shares of stock. I don't know if you guys know, you can buy shares of stock on Cash App right now. I don't know if you guys know that, but get some shares of stock for your kids. Invest in your loved ones, invest in your relationships, right? Invest in your community. Go to some black businesses and spend some money. Very, very important. So Dr. Anderson, one thing that's funny about Black Friday to me too is when they talk about the mindset of the consumer. Spending is a psychological thing. They get a lot of our money because our self-esteem is low, and we a lot of times we'll go buy things in order to feel better about who we are as black people. And one of the things I think is really funny, and I want to point this out to everybody, and I get your thoughts on it, is I'll hear people go out Black Friday shopping, and they'll come back with, let's say they come back with a $400 TV, and they say, well, this TV used to be, it was $800 last week. Look at how much money I saved. I saved $400. And I'll just say to them, yeah, I like the TV. It's fine to buy TVs, but you didn't actually save $400. You spent $400, right? You didn't save nothing. You spent $400. And I think that sometimes we don't understand that spending and saving are not the same thing. Even if they, if somebody is going to charge you this much and they only charge you that much, then you're thinking I saved this much. Well, really, you spent that much. Saving means that whatever amount of money you had before, you have more money later. Spending means whatever amount of money you had before, you have less money later. And so I think it's really important to make sure that we understand that, that there's no such thing. When people talk, they use terms like spending power. Well, I don't think there's a lot of power in the community that spends all this money, or being a savvy consumer. That's almost like saying that you want to be a high price hoe. Like if you want to, like I want to be a savvy prostitute. You're still a prostitute. A savvy prostitute is still a hooker, right? So I think that we got to kind of let go of some of that consumer culture, not to the point where you're not going to keep consuming, but you have to really think about the fact that you're missing the most important part of the equation. You must also be producers. You must also be investors. And then if you want to consume after, that's fine. So the way I see spending money, Dr. Anderson, is it's a lot like this. Because everybody spends money, everybody consumes. I think that's okay to do. But it's a lot like, investing is like your body, where you have to have muscle and bone. And the consuming is like fat, so it's okay to have some fat. Everybody has fat. But if you have all fat with no muscles and no bone, then you have no body. You have no strength, right? So I think that for Black people, the issue is not, don't go spend any money anywhere with anybody. It is to make sure that you have as much muscle and bone as you have fat. Because right now we're missing the muscle and bone. We're missing the investing and the producing that should underlie the spending. Does that make sense, Dr. Anderson? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it does make a lot of sense. But again, as I keep relating back to these points, even though when I gave you all that long history, it was sort of, convoluted because I was trying to get through it very quickly. But again, I go back and I want to stop with Lincoln's proclamation, because that was the first time there was an association with Blackness with Thanksgiving. As I said earlier, it started out with the Pilgrims, and Pilgrims changed themselves pretty quickly to call themselves no longer Pilgrims. They call themselves colonists to get away from it. Then European whites. They moved through a whole process. There were no Pilgrims. Pilgrims only lasted maybe 30 or 40 years in this country at most. Nobody used that word anymore. Pilgrims disappeared. You go down and see all these drawings about Pilgrims chasing a turkey and all that. That's BS. They ran that game. And the Indians had a holiday, again, the Harvest Day, and then they pushed them out of it. That wiped that out. And George Washington said we should have a national day, and everybody recognized it. Then it said Thanksgiving Day, but later on it took about 1863 before any president came out and actually proclaimed a national holiday. That came from Lincoln in 1863, which died identically with his Emancipation Proclamation, because now you're going to set almost 5 million people free to run all over the country to generate some wealth and resources. They had no businesses. Point. I want Black folk to connect these dots. If we talk about it in the present day context, it doesn't make any sense. You got to understand the dots, connecting the dots. And when they freed those nearly 5 million people, Dr. Watson, they had no businesses, They were making a little money here and there, making income. They had no place to spend it except they had to spend it in the white communities or non-Black owned communities. And they had an annual disposable income, so they wanted it. So at that point, everything, because we talked about the freedom of Black folk and having some economics, then everything shifted. How are you going to capture that money? And so when Reconstruction ended, and it ended because whites ended it intentionally. Nobody yet always talk about Reconstruction. Dr. Watkins, the definition, reconstruct. What does reconstruct mean? It means change what the hell you've been doing. You did something wrong. And when you freed those Blacks, you want to go back and get that money, because now they're going to be generating money, and they had no means of catching it. They couldn't collect it and catch it. So at that point in time, there was a Blackness attached to the Thanksgiving holiday. They had no place to spend their monies. And as they began to push that around, Then they brought back, by 1870, they brought back the Pilgrims again that had been missing for 300 years. And also by 1890, they stuck a few Indians in there along with the Pilgrims, and that to give it an association. So by now in the 21st century, everybody associates Thanksgiving with turkeys, Pilgrims, Indians, and giving thanks for bounty and for kindness and goodness with other people, for the blessings you receive. That was fabricated. But by the same token, now everybody went after the black dollar, and they because they had consumer dollars. Now, consumerism, there is no power in consumerism, as you just identified. Consumerism is a weakness. It's a weakness. When you consume, the word consumerism comes from the word to consume. To consume means to be eaten alive. It'd be wasted away. And that's why the people back in the old days had cancer in the lungs. They called it consumption. Consumption means cancer was eating them up. Commercially, that the consumerism is a cancer, Dr. Watkins. Let me make that clear to you. It means you're being eaten alive. And out of every dollar you get, you spend 98% of it outside your own community. You're impoverishing yourselves. And also they set up a special Friday called Black Friday to follow the blackness that came into Thanksgiving. So everybody can go out and work collectively to recapture that money that was going into black folks' hands all year long or after holidays. It is a consumerism that is bad for black folk. What black folks should be saying is that, hey, if I want to celebrate anything for Thanksgiving, I'm gonna spend that money on my own people and our own businesses, because it's a weakness, it's a disease, and you're gonna lose. You get that money that should have been bouncing in your own communities 8 to 12 times before it left. But now everybody's going to get it on Black Friday. You're going to go back to your black community with a bunch of consumer products that you don't need and shouldn't have spent your money on.